Hello, good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. It is such a joy to have you on board. My name is Shiko Monoku. I will be taking you through the webinar today. Just a small introduction. As you've heard, my name is Shiko Monoku, and I facilitate a program at the Africa Digital Media Institute called the Career Launchpad Program. So I'm one of the faculty, and we really do welcome you for today's webinar. I will be joined by one of my colleagues for the webinar as well, and her name is Vanessa. Vanessa is in charge of our placement program, and we work very closely together. And again, we'll be working closely together during this webinar. We will see a lot of her during our question and answer time. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so good to have all of you on board. And today we'll be discussing interviews. How do we ace an interview in today's digital age? I think we're going to allow a few more people to come on so that we don't miss anybody as we start and as we move along. But the key thing that we want to discuss today is how do we ace an interview in today's digital age? Now, with the COVID-19 pandemic that has, taken over the world globally, many people are having to rethink their places of work. They're beginning to think about looking for new places. Some people, unfortunately, have lost their jobs and now need to look for new ones. And then there's some people who are already in the process of looking for jobs before this happened. And they may actually have to do an online interview. They may have to do an interview soon after the lockdown in most nations is opened up. So we still need to prepare for job interviews. Now, if you're already working and you want to change a job, as you go to a new position, you still need to make some changes and prepare yourself for your next job interview. So this job change or your employment. So I welcome everybody on board. Now, the Career Launchpad program, which is what I facilitate at the Africa Digital Media Institute, is a program tailored to equip our students with soft skills for the job market, soft skills that help them to stand out when they step into the job market and to thrive once they're in the workplace. So what we're going to be going through today is something that we actually tackle even within the Career Launchpad course at the Africa Digital Media Institute, where, as I've said, I'm faculty. Now, let's go ahead and talk about how do we ace a job interview in this digital age. Now, by the end of today's webinar, you should be able to, just a minute. You should be able to be equipped to be able to confidently present yourself during a job interview. By the time we're done today, we should be able to identify key steps to take in preparing for a job interview, whether it's a virtual interview or an in-person interview. You should be able to make a good first impression on the interviewer. You should be able to conduct yourself with confidence during a job interview, and you should be able to answer the key common interview questions. We'll look at a few today. And then again, after the interview is done, how do you remain memorable? Now, what is an interview? Because it is important to be clear. What is an interview? And I like to emphasize on this. An interview is a two-way process of evaluation. It's two ways, it's not one way. And many people often look at interviews as if they are like you're being led to the slaughterhouse. And that is not what an interview is. An interview is a two-way evaluation process. The interviewers are evaluating you, and you are evaluating them. You are getting to know them. It gives an opportunity for you to describe and for you to get more details about the company. And it also is a chance for the employer to get more information about you that is not on your CV. Of course, before an interview, we do know that you have sent your job application, you have sent your CV, and you have any links to your work have been sent to the interviewer beforehand. So this then gives you an opportunity to give more details that could not be captured within the CV. Now, if you're fresh out of college, the truth is that you will not, you would not have a CV that is longer than a page. if you're just fresh out of college. If you've worked for some time, you may have a 4-page CV, but even within that CV, there are things that you cannot express. Your personality, your presence when you walk into a room, the way you interact with the interviewers cannot be seen on paper. And that is why a job interview becomes very important. It is a two-way evaluation process. It's important to also note that very rarely do people hire you before they meet you, whether it's going to be via video call or in person. People will not hire you until they've interacted with you. Therefore, a job interview gives you a good opportunity to show who you truly are to the interviewer, give more details that may not have been captured on the CV. And it is a two-way evaluation process. I say this. If you go for a job interview and by the time you're done with the interview, you feel like your dignity has been dragged through the mud, you feel like your self-esteem is at an all-time low because of how they treated you, then you may want to ask yourself, is this the kind of place I want to work? Because I don't believe that somebody has to treat you like trash for them to know that you're a treasure. No, they don't. You actually can be treated with mutual respect and be treated with dignity, even when you're going through an interview. So it's a two-way evaluation process. You will check how they treat you, from how they receive you at their reception area, from how they treat you once, if they have to keep you waiting, how do they treat you at that time? And once you come in, do they treat you with respect? Again, or for them, it is a wonderful time for them to really get to know you. So it is a two-way evaluation process for you and the potential employer to get to know each other. Now, how do we prepare ourselves for the interview? How do we prepare ourselves for the interview? Before the interview, we need to do research. We need to research in order to be well prepared. If you're underprepared, believe you me, it shows. And there's nothing worse than being underprepared before an interview. By nature, interviews are very unnerving, whether it is by a video call or in person. By virtue of it being an interview, it can be very unnerving. Therefore, preparation becomes critical. You being prepared and ready for the interview is the greatest thing you can do for yourself. Now, in interview research, we want you to research, first of all, research yourself. Does that sound strange? Why should you research yourself? You need to remember the key things you have accomplished so far. What do you have to offer? What are you offering to this potential employer? What are your key selling points? What are your key competencies? You need to remember, for those who are already in the workplace and are looking to change or looking for a new job, you need to remember, in the last place you were, what were the key accomplishments, key achievements you made? And that takes some time to sit down and think about it. You need to research yourself. What are you passionate about? What is it that you want to do and can keep doing even without pay? What is the thing of your life? Life is. So in this particular phase, yourself, it means taking some time to sit with yourself and ask yourself key questions. And then very importantly, what are the technical skills, professional skills that you're going to bring on board? What do you have to offer? Now, you will be amazed if you don't sit down and write some of these things down and think about them. You may miss some of these things when you're in front of an interview panel. So it is very important to remind yourself structure what it is you're going to talk about. What is it that you have to offer? Technical skills you're bringing on board. What soft skills do you have? Things like good communication. What are the dates that you did it? What did you achieve that you have worked in? If you're fresh out of college, you may be saying, now, I don't have any formal work experience, so what am I going to sell? But the truth is that you have some work experience where Hey, I'm so sorry about that. I think we had a bit of a network fluctuation, and I think I am right back. Sorry about that. So we are right back. So as I was saying, I think I will just reshare with you where we were previously. Let's just hold on for a little bit. All right, I think we are back now. All right. So back to where we were, and we're saying that researching yourself, that is where we were. And if you're fresh out of college and you may be feeling that you do not have much that you have to offer, that you may be feeling that you don't have formal work experience. So what do you do in that kind of a case? Now, if you have an opportunity when you're in college to do class projects, get hands-on experience, do volunteer work, this for you can end up being your work experience. And how to package this, showing clearly the things you achieved at the time, is very, very important. So we want to say that do not feel that because you had just finished college and you do not have a very formal work experience, that you do not have work experience. So you need to research, what have I done in the past? What were my key achievements? What were my key achievements? What are the key things I achieved in the places I have worked before? Then the other thing is that you need to research the employer. Where do you research the employer? How do you research the employer? You start by going online. Most employers today have a website. Many of them even have social media pages. So you need to go online and research and get to know, what does the employer want people to know about them? When you go to the website of any company, they tell you what they want the world to know about them. They also tell you what are their vision and their mission. They tell you who is there. If you go to their photo gallery, you'll get an opportunity to even see how their company culture is. You get to see, do they have any CSR activities? What do they do for the community? What kind of people are this that you want to work for? If you go to their website, you'll also see their passion projects. You get to see also the project that they're most proud of. Therefore, it becomes very important for you to go and check their website, go to their social media pages, see how they're interacting with their customers, and that gives you a good idea about the employer. Another place to do your company research is ask somebody. Ask somebody who is in that same industry. They most likely may know somebody who has worked with this particular company. They may know somebody that is already has either used to work there or know somebody that is there that can tell you the things that are not on our website about what it is like to work there, what is expected in that kind of a place. The other thing you do need to research before you go for a job interview is to research the position. This particular role that I'm applying for, how does it play out in this particular industry? Because you could be a graphic designer and your day at work will look very different if you're working for an agency, advertising agency, and if you're working for a bank. So it is important, even when you're doing the research for the company, you are able to also research that particular role within the particular industry you're going for. It's important to understand the role, because if you don't understand the role, chances are that you may end up being disappointed or frustrated when you enter that particular job, simply purely based on what the job advert told you. The job advert will tell you what are the key competencies they require, what are the key responsibilities you will have when you go there. However, you need to research further and see, when somebody is working in this particular industry, how do their responsibilities play out? I want to say this. Somebody who is a camera operator in a television station, their role is going to look very different from somebody who's a videographer in an event company. Their role will look very different from somebody who is a cinematographer that is making movies in a film production company. So research the role and research the role based on the industry that you're going into. Be clear on what are your strengths in the areas of your academic performance, in the areas of your work experience, and also be very clear about your and log onto the link that the company has given you. Be able to make sure once you're on, that they're able to see, so that is not having to be tested. They let them know we require you to be there at least 15 minutes before. Not too early, because if you're there too early, you start to panic if you're there over an hour, sitting in a place where you're not comfortable. However, if it's somewhere in town, you can make sure you get there, be around in the vicinity, and then 15 minutes to time, make sure you arrive at their reception. Why is this important for you? Because once you get there, at least 15 minutes early, you're able to go and check on yourself. Make sure your clothes are looking the way you want them to look. Make sure that your face is still looking the way it was when you left the house, and do any touch-up you may need. It's also a good place. It's good for you to calm yourself. Go through the CV you have carried. Remind yourself. Go through the notebook you have carried where you have jotted key things that you want to talk about during the interview. Those 15 minutes are life-saving for many people. It gives you time to calm down, to gather your thoughts as you wait at their reception. Be on time. There's nothing worse than running late and having to be called in a minute after you've gotten there and you're still flustered and you're panting and you really are feeling out of it. So be there on time. For a video call, make sure that by the time your time reaches, you're able to click on time, meaning you need to already be on the platform that you're going to be using for the interview, and you're ready to be able to come on board to join the meeting right on time. Now, what should be expected of you once now you're in the interview? Once you're in the interview, what should be expected of you? We want you to exhibit a good attitude. And how does a good attitude look like? I would like you guys to please, there is a place where you can send questions and answers. And I'd like you to type in there what you think is a good attitude. And my colleague Vanessa will be able to see that for me. What for you? How does a good attitude look like in a job interview? How would I be able to demonstrate that I have a good attitude when I come into a job interview? I'll allow you to do that. Now, once you get to the interview, often you will, if it's a video call, the interviewer will come on and they will be able to see you and you'll be able to see them. Please smile. Let them see you. Let them look into the machine so that they feel like you're indeed looking at them. Smile at them and let them feel that you are present with them and they're able to connect with you. It is very important for you to, oh, very good. I can see somebody who's saying that a good attitude begins with a smile. Very good. Look, that's very good. Yes. A good attitude will begin with a smile. If you walk in and you're frowning and you say, it's good to meet you, no one will believe you, right? So is there anyone else who wants to just type in there and let me know? What do you think? How does a good attitude look like? What is a good attitude like in a job interview? Anyone else want to answer that? Okay, now a good attitude will also be demonstrated in how you receive what the interviewer is saying. Are you actively listening? You know, when they talk to you, do you respond? A good attitude will be how you carry yourself into the interview. How do you position yourself in the interview? And I want to say that it becomes very important how you walk, not only how you walk in, but even how once you're in front of them, how do you stand? These are a few tips to demonstrate that indeed you have a good attitude. One, make sure that let the interviewer lead. Oh, I have somebody else. Maurice, thank you for that. Yes, be smart. You cannot have a good attitude and come there looking like you didn't even bother to package yourself properly. Yes. So be well packaged, look good. That will demonstrate your good attitude. Make good eye contact with them. Look at the person when you're greeting them. And now, we don't know how long that social distancing is going to be with us. Chances are it will be a long time before we start shaking hands again. But when we finally do start shaking hands again, then make sure that you have a firm handshake. You're not crushing the interviewer's hand, and neither are you giving them that very light handshake that seems to feel like you don't have any confidence. So a good warm handshake is a good also sign of a good attitude, right? But also being an active listener. Once you get in, I want us to make sure that we do not just walk into the interview, or once the video chat is on, that once the video link is on, and we just start talking and rambling on. Allow the interviewer to lead the interview. It's very important. Once you've walked in, you have said hello, you have smiled at them, said hi, then now let the interviewer take the lead. Don't just walk in and start talking, right? Let them, after you have said hello, let them now lead you. That becomes very, very important. I think we're having a little bit of connectivity issues, so I will stop my video, but you will still be able to hear me so that we can carry on. Okay, now let them start with the questions. Once they start asking you these questions, then this is your time to demonstrate your knowledge and make a good impression. Listen, and please, for heaven's sake, this one, please, do not forget this one if you forget everything else. Never interrupt the interviewer. Do not interrupt the interviewer. Sometimes there are people who listen in a way that they're just waiting for you to finish talking so that they can say what they want to say. And you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to do that. Oh, I have a few more. Very good. Maintain eye contact so that the interviewer will know you have confidence. Thank you. Very good. And somebody else says, be focused on the panelists. Let your eyes not be all over the interview room. Very good. Very, very good. Yes, very good. All that does show you're present, and you're present with the particular people that are in the room. Very important. There are people who enter an interview and they look down. They want the ground to open up and swallow them. Then there are other people in the interview who end up looking up to the heavens for help. And we are saying that we need to make sure that we are present and looking at the people there. If you are shy, if you look at them right between their eyes, it actually feels like you're looking into their face. You're looking into their eyes. That is very important. Okay, now let the interviewer lead. Do not go in there with your set of questions in your mind that you have memorized so well that as soon as they ask you one thing, you just start and you can't stop. They are wondering when to jump in with the next question because you have so much to say. It is important for you to let them lead, let them ask you the questions until they give you an opportunity to ask them. So please do not interrupt the interviewer. Listen, and listen actively. I like that we are having several of us telling us what they feel. Now, other things to remember is that you need to practice. Look, when we're children, there are many times we would be in front of a mirror and we would practice for things. If we had to say a point somewhere, even as an adult, that mirror can help you. Sit in front of your mirror and practice. Ask somebody, ask a friend to record you. And on the phone, a video of you answering some of the questions we are going to talk about later. Why is this important? So that you can see what body gestures do you make? How do you make any eye contact? How do you talk? Do you ramble on? Now, back even to the kind of the questions, once the questions are asked, it is important for you, after you have listened, to be calm enough when you're answering so that you answer not too brief, not less than a minute, and not too long, not more than 2 minutes. If you answer for just a minute, less than a minute, 30 seconds answer, what that ends up doing is that you finish talking and there's an awkward silence later, because nobody knows whether you have finished talking or not. So make sure when you answer the question, you say all you need to say calmly, and at least when you're practicing, time yourself, make sure you've spoken for at least a minute. That way you'll be sure you've said everything you need to say. And make sure it's not more than 2 minutes, because if it's more than 2 minutes, then again, you're most likely repeating yourself and you're rambling on. As you're preparing, make sure you make a list of questions that you would like to ask the employer later. Map out the interview in your mind. Map out the interview in your mind. Now, it becomes very important for you to remember this. Your nonverbal communications, your nonverbal communication actions speak louder than words. You need to maintain a positive, confident attitude throughout the interview. And remember that even your smile, how you sit up, how you look at them, is communicating just you need to be clear, be focused, give well in order for them to understand what you're saying. But the most important thing is be yourself. Be yourself. As we will talk about what to wear, your communication is reflected on how you dress. Sometimes what you wear is as important as what you say in the interview. Several interviewers have said goodbye to people because of how they came packaged. But your confidence needs to be seen through your eye contact, as some of our participants have shared with us. You sitting up, and now if you're in a house and in a home, whereby now it's a video interview, make sure that your body is facing your camera and your face can be clearly seen during the interview. One of the good ways to make somebody know that you're listening is by nodding as they speak. Okay, I can see some questions, and these ones I will answer the questions later. But there's someone who has said something very, very good here, that never ask your interviewer direct questions. And we will probably want to understand what you mean by this a bit later on. Because they're saying that so that you can get the deep point of view concerning the issue you're addressing to show positivity. Okay, we will need to we will touch base on that a little later. Now, we'll talk about dressing. I've seen somebody asking me something about now on the dressing, and that's exactly where we're going next. Now, please and make sure it's ready the day before. Do not wait for the day of the interview to start looking for what you're going to wear. That is when you discover that it's missing. You know, for the ladies, that is not the day. If you want to wear something, make sure by the day before it is already ready. I think you can see two people here who definitely do not look like they're going for any interview. So for our young people, those who are just fresh out of college or in college, we definitely don't want to go looking like this. For those in the creative media industry, I'm sure you may be wondering, I mean, our industry is not as stiff as far as dress code is concerned. So how should we dress? Now, I want to say this. Remember our first self, going to sell is you and trying to get them to buy in to what you have to offer. So you should dress in a way that you can be taken seriously. How you dress is how you will be addressed. How you dress is how you will be addressed. If you dress in a way that makes you look like like people should keep their bags away from you, then I can assure you that nobody will want to then hire you and trust you with their resources that are worth a lot of money, or trust you with their networks that are worth a whole lot of years and investment, financial investment, and relationship investment. So please make sure that you dress in a way that somebody can be able to trust you with their money. Because really that is what it is. When you go for a job interview, you're telling somebody you can trust me with your money. You can trust me with your relationships. You can trust me. That is what you're saying to them. So make sure you dress well. Plan out the day before what you're going to wear. Make sure the clothes you clean. It is better to overdress than be underdressed. I don't know if any of you has ever gone for an event that you've been invited for, and maybe they didn't send the invite card early enough for you to know there was a dress code. And then when you get there, you realize there was a dress code. It was an all-white event, and you're there in your colorful African attire. You want to go back home, right? It is important to dress correctly. And for an interview, even when we are at home, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, we need to look like we are serious people who can be trusted with people's money and people's networks, because that is what our job is. Do not wear clothes that are too revealing, too flashy, or distracting. And as we've said earlier, your appearance is as important as the content of your interview. Now, when it is an in-person interview, please remember that the kind of fragrance you're going to have on, fragrances, let it be something light, crispy, something that makes it a joy to be around you, not the kind of thing that leaves the interviewer choking. There are people who have got allergies for some particular kind of fragrances. You do not want to walk into a room and they want you out as quick as possible because of the kind of fragrance you have. Now, that also applies to hygiene, because again, there can be the opposite of a fragrance that you can walk with into the interview that makes people want you to leave as fast as you got in. Please, I know it seems the obvious, but let me say it, because the obvious is not always obvious. Please be clean. Your clothes should be clean. They should be neatly pressed. They should fit well, but you be clean as well. Make sure you've used underarm deodorant. Yes, because when you smell fresh, you feel good. You're more confident. When you're stretching your hand to say hello to somebody, you're more confident when you smell good, right? And then it's only after you have already used the underarm deodorant that now we're going to now put on any perfume or cologne that you will have. It is important for you not to be worried about how you smell when you walk into an interview. Of course, because you will be talking, you need to make sure your breath is fresh as well. So, as we know, we brush our teeth, but because you may have been quiet for about an hour before you actually got to the interview, maybe your commute to where the interview is took a while, make sure you have mint to freshen your breath. And if you choose to chew gum as your mint, make sure you go to the washroom and get rid of it before the interview. There is nothing worse than walking into an interview, you have chewing gum in your mouth and you're asking yourself, what do I do? Do I swallow it? Do I remove it? So please make sure you throw it before you get into the interview. It's just to make sure your mouth is fresh. If you don't have that, if it's a place where they have a reception area and they have some water, request them to give you some water. Then you can drink, and water does freshen your breath. So wear conservative colors for if you're going to a formal establishment, whereby for the men you're required to be in a suit, or the lady as well. Then make sure that you do wear conservative colors. We're looking conservative colors are colors like navy blue, charcoal gray, black, and wear formal shirts or blouses. But then we would, if you're in the creative media industry, we may not expect you to show up in a suit. No, we don't. We may actually expect you to show up in a formal shirt, khaki pants, formal shoes, and the shoes should be comfortable, conservative, and this, you do not walk in there with sneakers. Dark colors are your best bet. And if your leather shoes, make sure they're well polished. This is just a few samples of what we would expect you to wear. Because we also want you to look trendy. If you're in the creative media industry, you're expected to look trendy. We don't expect you to walk in there looking like you've come in from the 80s. We want you to be with it, but then remember, no matter what is trending fashion-wise, you need to be conservatively dressed. Lean more to the conservative than to the eccentric when it comes to a job interview. It is a business meeting. Even if you are a sound engineer, and most likely all the days you're going to work, you'll be working in jeans and comfortable shoes and t-shirts during the workday. When it's time to negotiate to enter into this business relationship with a potential employer, you need to package yourself like they can trust you. You're there for business. You're not there to fold a cable. You're there to sell yourself. So you need to package yourself in a way that sells you. Do not have, now for the video interviews, we want you to be fully dressed, even though you're at home. There is a reporter recently who was trending online, Mr. Reeves, who when doing he was reporting live, and the camera angle was wrong, and guys were able to see that the man was not wearing pants. And well, he handled it gracefully later. But I want to say this: please do not be underdressed, even though you're in the house. An interview on video will not take you more than 20 to 30 minutes maximum. So you do not, it won't kill you to be fully dressed for the interview. When you're fully dressed, it boosts your confidence and makes you feel better prepared. And it saves you from embarrassing moments. Sometimes you may need to, the network is not working, you are trying to fidget around. And recently in an interview we conducted, we also saw somebody with this kind of situation where we're able to see his socks. So please be fully dressed and it will boost your confidence. Avoid elaborate patterns on your shirt or blouse or blazer because they're very distracting on the screen. It's better to go with plain colors. For the women, have on some makeup, look good. When you look good, even how your posture is different, how you feel more confident. And remember, for a job interview, we are looking for confidence, to keep our confidence intact. Because as I said earlier, job interviews can be pretty unnerving. Dress appropriately for the role that you're interviewing for. If, for instance, you are going to interview in a place where, when you did your research, remember I said you do your company research. When you looked in the photo gallery, you realize that they dress down quite a bit. You may not want to go there in a 3-piece suit, but you may need to go there, looking, like with a formal shirt, a nice tie to show you're serious, and formal pants and formal shoes. It doesn't have to be a 3-piece suit. Dress for the industry you're going into so that they can be able to relate with you. Now, in the creative media industry, we have a lot of people who are very eccentric in the kind of hairdo that they have. So you may find somebody who has got dreadlocks. What will that person do because they want a job now? What do they do with those dreadlocks? This is Africa. We have our African hair, our African look. And I say to people who have got dreadlocks, you have to style them. You have to dress them. They have to look like you made an effort, and then get them off your face so that they are not distracting to the person on the other side of the table or the other side of the video call. Let them be off your face. Let the thing they remember be what you said, be your smile, not your hair. That is very important to remember. We want you to make sure that you dress like you are serious for business, even if you're doing the interview from the house. if you're going to have, for the ladies, even for our hair, we have to make sure our hair is well kept, that it looks good. And even when, even if you're at home, make an effort. I know right now with the pandemic as it is, most of us cannot afford to go to the hair salon because, we can't risk our health. But you must find a way to make sure your hair is looking well kept, that you're able to face the interviewer with confidence. Our looks, how we feel about how we look, reflects on how we carry ourselves. So give yourself a good chance by taking care of your look. So the more eccentric your hair, the more conservative the rest of what you're wearing must be. You must make sure that your clothes are more conservative. So if you have dreadlocks, then do wear a suit, right? You can't afford to go there in your khaki pants and just an easy shirt. You need to have a more formal look to compensate for the eccentricity in the hair. Dress them. And then make sure you understand the company you're going to work for. There are some places which are very conservative. I know one of our local banks, they do not allow women to wear trousers because of who their customers are. Can you imagine that? They do not allow their customers to wear trousers. So in this kind of place, you do not want to show up for an interview and you have trousers on. that will be a big problem for you. So as you're doing your company research, you're also going and seeing how do they carry themselves, how do they package themselves, how do they dress. Oh, this is very good. I can see somebody here asking, now that we're on the dressing question. For gents, should you always wear a suit to an interview? And now, as I've said, this is based on the industry. For the people who I have addressed most of all, because most of them are who our audience is, people in the creative media industry, we're talking of guys who are graphic designers, animators, guys who are film and television professionals, music producers, sound engineers, people who normally are in that space. They may not need to walk in there with a suit, because most times they'll be interviewing in a place where even the people who work there rarely wear these suits. But they cannot walk in there in a t-shirt. They cannot walk in there with a polo shirt. They cannot walk in there with jeans. Jeans are a complete no. Whether they are black, blue, it does not matter. Brown, it doesn't matter the color. Do not wear jeans to an interview. Now, khaki pants are okay when you're interviewing in a less formal industry, but the shoes should compensate. You're not wearing loafers, you're wearing formal shoes. Please, men, wear socks. You must wear socks for your interview. You cannot go for an interview without socks because it's what is trending. What does this then mean? It means it will advise even the choice of trousers that you're going to wear. It will advise the kind of pants you will wear. I know there are these trendy suits that look really cool, but they're like skinny pants. Now, those will not work for an interview because that look is the kind that goes without socks. For an interview, you need to wear your socks. So, and for the men, please hear me, dark socks is the way to go. I know happy socks are in the range, they are doing well, but someday they'll be out of fashion. So please invest in dark socks, black socks, dark gray socks, dark navy blue socks. Dark socks are the way to go. And because we have already advised that you should wear dark shoes. Please don't go in a white suit, in a red suit. If you're a man, this look is great for evangelical pastors, but this look will not work for you in a job interview. So wear clothes that allow you to be formally dressed from head to toe. The suit, I see somebody here asking me about, must the suit match or can one wear a broken suit? Now, if you're going to wear a broken suit, please make sure that you're stylish enough for it. What do I mean by that? There's a way a tweed blazer will look great with khaki pants and dark brown shoes with a matching belt, right? There's a way you will break your suit. It actually just looks like you are one of the politicians we have going for Harambe up country. There's a look they normally have. You don't want to look like that for your interview. So if you're breaking the suit, then you have to really, it needs to look like it was intentional, like it is a look you were out to create. Okay, then let me see. I have got somebody else that is asking, which colors of suits are appropriate? I think I covered that. We want dark suits. Remember the industry you're going into. Now for the women, we are lucky because we have a whole range of things we can wear. You can wear a formal dress, you know, and still look great, right? You can wear a skirt suit. You can wear a pantsuit, depend if it is allowed in the place you're going. Now, if you're going to interview, oh, there's somebody here asking about trousers. Let me have a look at that. Which colors of suits are appropriate for women? Are trouser suits okay for religious organizations? I want to say this. I would not wear trouser suit to any religious organization because you don't know the extent of the bias of the panel you're going to be in front of. You know, because at the end of the day, you're going to be in front of a panel. And in that panel, there are people who are on the extreme side of conservative. So if it's a religious organization for a woman, I would say stick with dresses, stick with skirt suits. Which colors of suits are appropriate for women? Women, we have a whole range. We do prefer, of course, that you wear the darker colors. Then maybe have a dash of color in the kind of blouse you wear. Right? We are not saying don't have color. Color is beautiful, but you have to, it's how you match it. What we don't want is patterns that are very extreme, that become very distracting. Okay, we need to be also careful. If you're to wear a trouser suit, or you're to wear whatever it is you're going to wear. Now, I'm going to touch on things that maybe may sound like I'm being very, very old-fashioned, but I want to say this, please. The panel is made of human beings. Definitely, it should, if the highest it should go is just above your knees. The highest it should go is just above your knees. It should not be higher. We should not see your thighs. Just above your knees for the women. For the men, of course, we need not say you must wear trousers, full pants, and no shorts whatsoever. No sneakers whatsoever for both genders. For the women, please do not wear open shoes for an interview. Do not wear sandals. If you're going to wear a peep toe, please let it have a heel. Even a kitten heel is okay. So if you're going to wear flats, make sure they are completely closed. If you're going to wear trousers, let me also touch on that a little bit. If you're going to wear trousers, please do not let the trousers be so tight that we can see your body shape for the women. It is really, really, it has a very unprofessional look. So make sure your pants fit well, right? We want all your clothes, whatever it is you wear, we want them to see, you know, you need to look attractive, but you should not look, it should not be offensive. You should not look like the clothes you're wearing are clothes you should have worn last year before quarantine made you add whatever weight may be on at the time. You need to dress in a way that you feel comfortable. You know, don't wear something that is short, that when you sit down, you feel like you need to keep moving it. Now, if you're in the house and you're doing this interview, it still applies, because if you're uncomfortable in what you're wearing, or maybe you're wearing a blouse and the buttons are, you know, stretching, you will not be confident. You will, and you look untidy. So make sure the clothes fit well. For the ladies, of course, no plunging necklines. We don't want to see any cleavage during an interview. People want to remember you for the content of what you said, not for what you displayed as far as your body is concerned. Let it be what you displayed in your portfolio of your work. So I think for dressing, I think we are pretty, clear. I don't know if anyone else has any question on that. We've touched a bit on that, and there's a bit of interest in that area. So because we do not want to have any embarrassing situations, we make sure that we are dressed well and we are looking the part. So, any questions still there? Anybody who has anything they want to ask at this point? Or do I just carry on? Let me see. Okay. Oh, please, I cannot forget. I should not forget to say this before I move on. For the men, please make sure you have a belt on, because there is nothing on that can be worse than when you end up not having you don't wear a belt and then you look like you are sagging your trousers, and that is not good. So please make sure you're dressed properly. Now, the interview stages, there's an introductory stage when you walk in and you say hello. Then there are the questions that are asked, the broad questions and answers, and then there are the position-related questions. And then after that, there is a conclusion. We're going to look at 3 key questions that you're asked in an interview. The introductory questions, the first question often they'll ask you is, tell us about yourself. How do you answer this question? Because this is normally the first one. And for me, this is the trickiest question in an interview. What do they want to know? They do not want to know your life history. They are not looking to know what you did 10 years ago, unless it is still relevant today. What they really want to know is, what are your professional strengths? What are your years of experience? What are your key technical skills and professional skills that you're bringing on board? And when you start answering this question, see it as an elevator pitch, but one for 2 minutes. Sell yourself. Start by saying, who are you as a professional? What are you passionate about as a professional? What are your key achievements as a professional? This is very important. You need to make sure that whatever strengths you're going to talk about at this point are speaking to whatever it is that the employer had asked for in the job description. Remember, you'll walk through your resume in more detail later. Therefore, don't try and say too many things at this point. Sell yourself, key selling points. What are your professional strengths? The years of experience you have, any specialized skills that you have on board. That is what they're looking for. So do not start by saying, I am 23 years old. I was born in Mombasa. Then I came to Nairobi. No. That's not what they're looking for. They are looking to know, what are your professional strengths? I'm a graphic designer with 3 years experience. And then talk about the key strengths you have as a designer. And then remember, the job description had asked for key technical competencies. Those that you have, this is when to speak and say you have them. This is when to talk about your professional strengths. Okay. Now, we have a small example here I'd like us to look at, and it's from people who are not in Kenya, but we'll look at it anyway. The first sample tells us, somebody is asked this question, tell us about yourself. And the person says it this way: I have spent the last 6 years developing my skills as a customer service manager for mega company, where I have won several performance awards and been promoted twice. I love managing teams and solving customer problems. Now, this person has emphasized on their experience, on their enthusiasm, and their proof of performance. Then the second person answers this question in this way: my first job was as an administrative assistant for Macy's. I learned a great deal in that role, and it served me well over the next 12 years. At that time, I wasn't sure about my career path. So I next took a position selling real estate. It only lasted 6 months, but I sure enjoyed it. This second person is starting with the least impressive part of their career. The part that nobody cares about is 12 years ago. Now, what these last 6 months that they're talking about, it may be what they were trying to sell. So you don't want to talk too much about what doesn't interest the interviewer, that they tune out before you get to what they really need to hear about you. Now, the next question that they will ask you is about your weakness. Do you have a weakness? This is a very tricky question because you need to remember that an interviewer is not your therapist. So this is not the place to talk about personal weaknesses that only your family should know or your closest friends. When an interviewer asks you, and there are many ways they can ask you this question, when they ask you about whether or not you have a weakness, what the interviewer is asking is there anything in any professional weakness that you should have? Now, when you're going to answer this question, make sure that it is something that is real, that you can be able to demonstrate the context within which it appears. Make sure it is something that is minor and harmless and is related to your performance. If it is a flaw, make sure that it is manageable and fixable. Many times the interviewer may ask this because they want to, why would they ask this? Because they want to know, are you self-aware? Are you open to constructive criticism? How well do you handle challenges? And they also want to see your ability to be honest. Nobody is perfect. And I'll tell you this, nobody is a perfect fit for any job. So when you're able to answer this question and answer so confidently and honestly, it tells the employer that you're self-aware, that you're open to constructive criticism, and that you're able to handle challenges, that you're honest, and you're able to continue growing as you do your work. There was one time we did an interview with someone, and there was a beautiful lady that came very well packaged. And when it came to this point of asking whether she had a weakness, she thought about it for a minute, and she told us no. She looked us dead in the face and said, no, I do not. We asked the question in various other ways, but no matter which way we asked it, I was in a panel with another colleague, and she said, no, she doesn't. And for me, the interview was over then, as for my colleague. Why? Because it was either that this person has not worked enough to discover who they really are and what their weaknesses are. And this may be the place they come to discover it. And we don't know how bad it is because she hasn't yet discovered how to mitigate that weakness, or they're plain dishonest. Also, people who think they have no weakness are very difficult to work with. People who see like everybody else is the problem are very difficult to work with. And we do not want to come across as being one of those people that thinks they're perfect, therefore everybody else is the problem. So it's important to be able to share honestly about a professional weakness you may have if the employer asks this question. But I must put a note here. When the employer asks you this question, don't volunteer more than one unless they ask for another. Remember, you're there to sell your strengths, not to convince them that you have many weaknesses. So please start by telling them, be honest about it, but just share, have at least 3 in mind, but just share one unless more is asked for. So remember, everybody has deficits. No one is a perfect fit for a job. And the market is consistently changing. So what was a perfect fit yesterday may not be a perfect fit for today or for the future. So at some point, you will find something that challenges you more in the workplace. And this is the thing we're saying we need to talk about. Now, your weakness is not a personality trait. Some people say, when you ask them if they have a weakness, they want to say, I'm an introvert. There is nothing wrong with being an introvert. It's a personality trait. These are the things that come to you naturally. There is nothing wrong with your personality. There are just certain weaknesses that are more visible, in particular for extroverts or for introverts. And now learning to manage that becomes the key to overcoming those weaknesses. Now, your personality comes naturally, but a skill is something that can be learned. It can be enhanced. It can be perfected. So when we come to answering the weakness question, you need to ask yourself, what has been my concern currently and in the past when I've executed similar roles as this one? And then ask yourself, what have I done to address these issues? ask yourself, what am I doing to learn and improve about myself? And examples of weaknesses in the workplace are things like time management. Now, you're not going to, the one thing you're not going to come into an interview is to say, I'm always late for work. You've just disqualified yourself. So we're talking about time management here, and we want you to look at it more to do with scheduling your work, scheduling your tasks. And that indeed can be a challenge. Some people have problems with delegating. Other people are not able to be confrontational. They're not able to confront and speak up when they need to speak. And sometimes that costs them. For some people, they have problems with multitasking in the workplace. Some people have a problem with public speaking. Now, if you're fresh out of college, one of the weaknesses that you may have is lack of experience. And that there is, once you share the weakness, there is always how to manage that weakness. And I'll touch on that one a bit more. So when you're picking the weakness to talk about, you need to ask yourself, is it a skill? Is it something fixable, something I can improve on? Is it honest? And it has to be an honest one because you must give context when you're answering this question. Is it minor? Is it something that is not core to the job? Because if it is core to the job, then I suggest you should not be applying for that particular role at that time. You should be probably going back to school to make sure that you can improve on it, or getting a mentor to help you so that you're able to work on it so that it is not, it does not hinder you from doing your role. So make sure that it is not core to you executing the role. Now, for you to ace the weakness question, think of it in three main parts. You state the weakness, you talk about the action you're taking, the tools and strategies you've adopted to solve your weakness, and talk about the results of it, and how you're being able to improve your performance. Now, because we don't want this to appear like it's something that happens all the time, on a consistent basis, make sure you describe your weakness in a specific context or situation that shows that you've learned and that you have grown. So instead of saying, I'm impatient, you'd rather say, I sometimes find myself micromanaging when I've got deadlines to meet. That has given the context with it. I'm not impatient with people generally. It's just that when I have deadlines to meet and I want things done quickly, and sometimes it can make me start micromanaging my colleagues. And when I do this, it gets on their nerves. And then this can end up even hindering the team spirit. Therefore, I have now learned to be aware of this fact. And therefore now we schedule weekly group meetings that help us to touch base on where we're at so that everybody is facing their role. And at the end of it, we have greater efficiency. So make sure that I'd like you now, and we'll just take a minute to think this one through. For those of us who are fresh out of college, I want you to just, if you have paper around you or somewhere you can type, think of yourself and ask yourself, those who are fresh out of college, you have lack of experience may be one of the key weaknesses that you have. So I'd like you to think of how would you answer that? How would you answer that? What would you use to help you when you're answering this question? To show that, remember we said you're going to state the weakness, you're going to talk about the action you're taking, and then you're going to talk about the results. It needs to be a skill-based weakness. This is not a confession. This is a skill-based weakness. You give context. When does it happen? It should not look like it happens all the time. And then give the action you're taking to manage it in order for you to have good results. So I give you a minute is for you, you don't have experience. Somebody else, what would you talk about when it comes to scheduling? You have a challenge with that. So I will give you steps for a well-structured response. So you could start by saying, in the past, I struggled with, or in situations where, then you now talk about the thing that has been a challenge. Then you can go on to say, in the past, I struggled with, I tended to micromanage my team. I have learned to be aware of this fact. So in the past, when we had strict deadlines to meet, I would tend to micromanage my team. I have learned to be aware of this fact, and I no longer micromanage them. Instead, we have set up team meetings every week where we all talk about our deliverables and update the team consistently on how we're doing. This has freed me to face my work and achieve my goals, as well as freed them to focus on what they're doing without having me on their neck. It has enhanced the team spirit, and it has led to greater efficiency. I hope you have seen what I've done as I've answered that question. A good answer for the people where the challenge is that you have lack of experience, I would say, while I do not have a good way to answer that, while I do not have formal work experience, when I have had an opportunity, especially for those who've been at the Africa Digital Media Institute, I have had an opportunity to work on class projects that have given me the opportunity to gain some experience, because our classes and model is a work and learn model, whereby we indeed give you industry exposure right from the classroom to outside. So talk about that in that. I have had opportunities to work on class projects that were tailor-made for the industry. I have also volunteered in this and these particular places, and this has built my confidence in my technical skills. And another thing you can say if you don't have a lot of experience is that when I come on board, I do not come with any form of institutional bias. Therefore, I would be like a blank check for you to write whichever way you want me to do your kind of design work. So you can always sell yourself. When you're not talking about your weaknesses to put yourself down, you're talking about your weakness, professional weakness, in order for them to be able to tell that you are authentic, that you're a person that takes initiative, and you're a person that is having growth. So please do not ever say you don't have a weakness. I think I said that earlier. Don't list a personality trait as a weakness. Do not focus on personal weaknesses. I think I said that before. And this one, please do not mask a strength as a weakness. Don't go and say I'm a perfectionist. Or I care too much. Please don't do that, because this looks like you're trying to show like everyone else is the problem apart from you, or like you're being funny. So don't do that. And again, as I said, if a weakness is critical to the performance of the key functions of your job, please do not talk about it there. You should now not even be looking for a job in that particular area. You should be working on that, because this would suggest that you're not qualified and that you did not do research for the particular role you're coming for. Now, this question can be asked in many ways. As I said, it could be asked the way as simple as, do you have any weakness? They could ask you if they call your current previous employer. They could also ask you, what is a major difficulty you face in this situation, in such and such situation? They could also ask you, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Or they could ask you, what is something you would like to improve on? Or which is that one key area you're hoping to improve? Other common interview questions, they could, and this one is an important one. At the beginning, we talked about research. That research will come in handy now when you ask this question: why do you want to work in this company? And as you answer this question, the interviewer, wants to know, have you checked our company culture and seen how you can fit in it? You need to demonstrate to them that you understand how your personal goals and the company goals complement, and that you being engaged would be of mutual benefit to them. It should also be clear that you know which company you're interviewing for. Make sure you do not quote and talk about their competitors' projects as if they're theirs. Be very clear about what you are, why that particular company. And always come back to show them that you have something that would be valuable and that would fit in well with them. Another good common interview question is, and I really like this one, is when they ask you to give an example of when you have worked in a team and used your strengths to help your team to succeed in a common goal. This is a very good question. And what the interviewer is looking for here, they want to see if you're a good team player. There are two sides to this. One, do you take responsibility for your input when you're in a team? And then, do you value the input of other members of the team so that when it succeeds, you can share the glory with everybody? You want to avoid throwing your team members under the bus when you answer this question. Don't say, nobody else was being able to do this, and because my colleague so-and-so had done this, I therefore make sure you don't drag somebody else in the mud for you to be able to shine. Be able to show how you brought forth your strengths, but that you acknowledge that other team members have their input. There will be times in the workplace when your contribution in a team may end up being 80%, and the other one is 20%. But some of the other ones, I mean, you may find that you need, even when you're the one bringing 80%, when you answer this question, you don't want to look like you think you did everything and nobody else did anything, because nobody wants to work with somebody that's full of themselves, On the other hand, there'll be times when your input, the only input required from you is 10%. Everybody, the rest of the team are doing 90. Yours is just 10%. Are you able to carry yourself with the seriousness and professionalism required when all you're bringing is 10% or even 3%, that you carry yourself with such seriousness and such professionalism that when you deliver your 3%, it is awesome and it contributes to the welfare of the team and success of the team? Those two angles are important to think about when you answer this question. Oh, I see a question here. If they ask a question like this, what do you expect from this company? How best can you answer this? Now, this question is the one I just talked about just before this one. And what they really are asking is, why do you want to work with us? What do you expect from this company? You need to be clear. Don't only talk about what you take from them, but your company research would have told you what you'd benefit from them. The first thing, of course, would be the kind of work experience you will get from them. I mean, if they have great projects they have worked on before, you need to show them that you admire those projects, you know those projects, and you can see yourself working within those projects. You'd love to grow your expertise as you work within those kind of projects. Right? It should not only be about, especially when you're fresh out of college, you don't want to say that I'm here to learn. Your college is where you are there to learn. You're here to also add something. So make sure, even as you talk about what you're going to get out of them, you are able also to tell them what you're going to put in as well. You talk about also great networks, great collaboration with the kind of team that they have, the kind of team they have that would create such a wonderful, successful project like the ones you've already mentioned that they have done. Okay. So let us, there's another, now I want to talk about two more before I go to the final one. There's times that an interviewer will ask you a very tricky question, and I want you to think about this. They will ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years or the next 3 years? Please, this is a tricky question. Maybe for you, your dream is that you want to own your own company in the next 2 years. Are you going to answer that? Is that what you're going to say? That I want to, next year, I'm hoping to start my own company. If you're interviewing for somebody who's been in business for just 5 years, what you're telling them in essence is, I want to be your competition within a very short time. Meaning you're asking for a job, access to his networks, his clients, with the plan of leaving him soon after he has hired you. Of course, they won't hire you. but you don't want to lie in this question. So there are things you can say that do not necessarily have to reveal your very personal goals like that. And one of these things is that you look forward to growing as a professional. You look at one of the best answers I've had to this question is, I hope to be the best, have a strong brand, that I'm the best in what I like, in what I do, that I'll be the best graphic designer, I'll be the best accountant, that my excellence will be unmatched by the time I'm done with this role, that I'll be the person trusted and with the biggest projects you have, that I have moved up the ladder. Answer that question in a way that shows them you want to grow with them and you want to continue contributing to them as you grow as an individual and as a professional. So while we do want you to show that you have ambition, you need to be clear. I mean, we all have dreams, but we don't share our dreams with everybody. We share our dreams with people that are mentors. We share our dreams with people that are ready to either support us in the dreams, and also with our friends and family. But we do not want to tell a panel of people that we don't know very well what our deepest dream may be, especially if it would mean I'm going to be competition for them in the near future. What you may need to do is talk about it without mentioning that particular thing. Okay, so I have somebody. Hey, Judy. I see Judy saying here, I hear a lot of hiring managers say that they're hiring passionate, hungry, and self-driven individuals. That is so very true. Everybody wants somebody that when they come on board, they are driven, they are focused, they are bringing passion, and that passion needs to be seen through the interview as well. You need to be able to show that indeed, as you're coming on board, you are truly ready to take on any challenge. But this passion also needs to be seen in the kind of things you have done before you came for the interview. What do I mean by that? Before you go for an interview, the best way to create your CV is by doing stuff. And the more stuff we get to do, the more we have to share, So I want to say that please make sure, even for those who are for the young people who are fresh out of college or the people who are between jobs, please find ways to volunteer. Show that passion in what you do. Show that passion by trying to do stuff that even online that can show that you have passion and that you're self-driven, because this is a key thing that people want to hire when you come on board. Okay, now there are many other interview questions, but because of time, we may not go into them today, but in another webinar, we'll go further into this. But I want us to be able to have enough time to interact, and I'll take some more questions. But before that, I want us to talk about the last interview question, because this one people often may forget. And that is when the interviewer asks you, do you have any question for us? Now, when the interviewer asks you if you have a question for them, what are they looking for? The interviewer is looking to see if you are truly interested in that company, such that you even did research. For you to be able to have a question, you need to have researched this company properly. You need to be clear about the industry you're going into. You need to be clear about what they do, so that when you ask the question, it won't only be about how much are you going to pay me, how much are you offering. It is going to be about the role itself. Yeah, you need to show you have given thought to the role that you would be in if you're lucky enough to get hired. So make sure you have a question that can either be role related, or the projects they have, the team you'll be working in, the size of the team, opportunities for growth. You could ask them about if you saw that they have good corporate social responsibility or investment opportunities, would you be available to do it? You could ask them about projects they have done in the past. Are they happy? For those who are going into production houses, do they have a sequel? Would you be able to work on that? How versatile are you allowed to be within the role you're going into? And of course, when you're asking that kind of a question, you need to be able to demonstrate that indeed you can be versatile. That way you're still selling yourself. So please make sure you have a question. Do not be given an opportunity To ask a question in an interview, and then you say nothing. You say, no, I don't. It doesn't look good. It shows that either you didn't research them or you're self-absorbed. You don't care about them. You just came to talk. And we said at the very beginning that an interview is a two-way evaluation. So please remember that there is nothing wrong with you writing down the question so that you don't forget. Because sometimes, by the time you're done with the interview, you have talked so much, and I haven't touched on them, but for different professions, after we have done the broad-based questions I've just talked about, you will have the technical questions that are now key to the particular role that you're going into. Whether if you're going into HR, there'll be HR specific questions. If you're going into sound engineering or music production, they'll be specific to now the technicalities of executing the role, the job, right? So after you're done with all that, when they give you an opportunity to ask them a question, please do have a question, but don't have more than 2 questions or 3. Because remember, you're the one being interviewed. You don't want to turn it into an interrogation session now for the panel, right? Have a good question and then maybe a follow-up one from the answer that they'll give you. Look like you're interested. And remember, throughout these questions, we are present, we are nodding as we listen, we are active listeners, we are not interrupting the interviewer, we are making good eye contact, and we are smiling. This applies on digital interview, virtual interviews, as well as in-person interviews. Now, once the interview is done and you have left, please say thank you before you go. Do not just leave. If it's an in-person interview, please, after you're done, say thank you, and then get up and leave. But say goodbye and thank them for the opportunity, thank them for their time, let them know you look forward to hearing from them. If it's a video call also, please don't just leave the meeting because they say thank you. Please say thank you, thank them for their time, let them know it was a pleasure meeting them, and you look forward to hearing from them before you then leave the meeting. Chances are that they may need you to leave because they need to continue on with the virtual meeting. So once they have said goodbye, then now click the button and leave. I want to also emphasize on this. Please be clear, different platforms work differently. So if you're going to be on Zoom, for instance, make sure you understand how to leave the Zoom meeting. If you're on Google Meets, make sure you understand how to leave the meeting. If you're on Teams, whichever platform it is, if it's Skype call, whichever it is, make sure you're clear. Once you have left, within 24 hours, please send a thank you email or letter. Please make sure if it's a letter, you type it out on a Word document or Google Docs document, and then make sure you attach it as a PDF to your email and drop them an email saying, thank you for the opportunity. Why is this important? It makes sure that the interviewer is still thinking about you long after you have left. Within 24 hours, remind them that you were there, because most times they have interviewed another 5 people after you. This will help you to stand out. Let them, and it's simple as thanking them for the opportunity. Let them know that you're still very interested in this position. And in case you forgot to say anything during the interview, this is another opportunity for you to tell them something that you needed to let them know during the interview. This will give you an extra edge over any other candidate, because then, well, the other candidate may have gone and not even touched base with them. For you, you have made sure they still remember you long after the interview is over. So with that, I think I will come to the end of our session today. I want to just give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you have. And I'll now stop sharing my screen so that we can get to see what you may have to ask today. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a pleasure. So, hey, Vanessa, any questions for us?
Hey, Shiko. First of all, thank you for that session. I've really enjoyed myself.
Thank you very much.
So we have a number of questions, and I'll just ask them one by one as you answer.
Okay.
So Susie had asked about the brown envelope. I'm going for an interview. Should I carry it? Should I leave it at home? What should I do?
Now, that's a very good one. Please have a good folder. Packaging is everything. Remember, you're looking sharp. We already talked about how we're looking. Make sure even where you're putting your documents, that those documents look good. Don't have those brown paper envelopes that you have folded, there are marks of grease on them, your lotion got on it, and then it's the one you want to remove your documents from. No, 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 no. If you must have a brown envelope, let it be sharp and crisp, fresh from the shop, and then that is what you would have. But I prefer that, look for this, there's this inexpensive folders that you can just place your documents inside where they are not ruffled at all, and you can hand them over to the interviewer with ease. Yeah, very good.
Okay, thank you. We also have Judy who asked, what advice would you give to a student who thinks my papers are enough, they can speak for me, or the average person with the attitude of I must get this job, and they give the interview their all?
It's important to remember you're not the only one interviewing for the role. And your papers are what got you to the interview. That is true. But they also got maybe another 10 people into the interview. So up until the interview, your papers got you there. But you must now come in and sell yourself. Anybody can download a CV template and just input things there, right? They need to know that indeed that CV is yours. So you need to come and tell us, how did you achieve what is on the CV? You need to sell yourself. I mean, people need to also feel your personality. Are you the kind of person they want to hang out with? Because that's what an interview is. Are you the kind of person they want on their team? So you must prepare for the interview, because you could have these papers, but by the time they finish talking to you in the interview, they think you copied them from somebody else. So an interview is critical to show that what is on paper is real. You can actually talk about it with confidence and sell it. And maybe I want to also say this, for those of us who are in the creative media industry, please make sure, apart from your CV, your creative CV or traditional CV, please have a portfolio of your work that is evidence that the technical skills you have put on your CV are real. You know, a show reel that they can see the evidence of what you have put on your CV, that your technical skills are for real and you have actually practiced them. And maybe in another webinar, we can talk about how to sell those technical skills when they're now in a portfolio. So it is very important. And remember that, well, the attitude you bring into the interview will either put people off or draw them to you. So have an attitude of, I'm here to win, but I honor you for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Our final question is from Bram. He asks, what about if they ask you about your salary expectations? And I think just to tweak it a bit, I'd also like to throw in, given the circumstances around COVID and the economy, does that discussion change now, or how do we go about it now?
I want to say that, first of all, for you to answer this question in a way that doesn't shut you out, you need to have done your research. Research the industry you're going into and figure out, if you're at entry level, what do they pay somebody at the entry level for this particular job? Ask around. Again, it is also industry specific. What do they pay somebody at entry level in this particular industry? So somebody, let me use graphic design again. Somebody who's going into a graphic design, into an agency, the entry level position may be paid different from somebody who's going into a bank to work as a designer in their marketing department. So check entry level position in this particular industry, what is it? Ask for that around that space. If you have years of experience, again, do your research. Somebody who's been working for a while, how much are they paid? Industry-based and also role-based. Now, when it comes not to answering that question, if you're too expensive, of course, you know, they just move on to the next guy, because they're like, but instead of haggling with you, there's somebody else with the same papers as you that is willing to take a bit less. But I'll say this, if you're too cheap, they say cheap is expensive, so they won't trust you. They'll think there's a reason why you're asking for too little. So they won't touch you either. So that's why you need to do your research, so that you ask for something that is average, within what is the average of the industry rate. Now, right now, indeed many places people are having to take pay cuts because of the, the impact of COVID-19 on the economy. But this shall not be forever. So ask for what it is you're asking for. Because, as I said, within the average, because that is what you deserve. Don't undersell yourself either. You're bringing something. You are bringing something. Yeah. And so do not undersell yourself. But of course, if indeed we're going to discuss COVID-19, then it is to be discussed in a way that this would be reviewed to where it should be once this pandemic is over. Okay, anything else? I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, I think it answers the question. Thank you. That's the final question that we have. Okay,
so I want to say thank you so very much to everyone who has been with us today. It's been a pleasure being with you all, and I wish you all the very best. Please do touch base with us. We do have the webinars on a weekly basis, and so please look out for the next one. I wish you all the best in your job search. In case you have any questions, you can email me at shiko@africadigitalmedia.org. I think maybe I'll just reshare my screen so that you can see the last where my email is. In case you want to reach out to me after this. I wish you well, and please do stay safe as much as we are all going through this pandemic. It shall not always be like this. So do stay safe and keep hope alive. All the very best. Thank you.